And that brings me to my very special guest, Adam Bowes. Good morning, my brother.
Good morning. Thanks for having me, mate.
Oh, it's our pleasure. How are you today?
Yeah, really good, really good. Loving life in lockdown in Sydney. I don't know what day it is, nor what month it is.
We talk about that often, and we stumble over what day it is. All I know is I've just got to get up and
Yeah.
and push forward. Really interesting clip there. Obviously, where do you start? Well, we could use the next 30 minutes and talk about that. But well, let's talk about that. What could the NDIS? What? First of all, why are? Let's talk about the basic stuff. Why are you applying for NDIS?
Well, basically, I have I have a disability. Funnily enough, so I was born with congenital bilateral tibial hemimelia, which basically meant I didn't have the tibia bone when I was born, and I had my legs amputated when I was 2. Since then, I've worn prosthetics of different kinds. I've had ones that had a Velcro strap to hold my legs in place around my waist, and now a suction-based system and things like that. So. Yeah, look, prosthetic legs are not a cheap item to, to purchase. Wow. They are, tens of thousands of dollars just for one pair, and I need 2. So for one, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, 2 legs. So yeah.
Far out. You're faced with some challenges as a young kid. What age are we talking? So you were born without the tibia bone.
Born without the tibia bone.
Tibia bone's the one below the knee.
That's right. Yeah. And
no
basically,
bone.
Yeah, we tried these legs where these prosthetics where my legs were actually sticking out the back in like a little plaster thing. But from like videos, that I've seen, it looks very painful. So it was sort of either, have them amputated or be in a wheelchair. Obviously I was 2, so I couldn't really make that decision myself.
Sure.
The next episode of Rugrats.
Have you got any memories? Have you got any? I remember weirdly, some adults remember whack things from times where they shouldn't.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, I only have seen the photos and the videos. I really don't remember, having that lower part of my legs. Yeah. I mean, a lot of amputees also get phantom limb pain, which is where they feel like they can still feel their toes or their legs below the amputation. I never really got that because I think I was too young. But yeah.
There you go. I've got a little bit of footage just to give peeps some clarity into you as a little toddler. This is incredible footage, which you have just been recently discovering, or you've known it's always there and you're uncovering it and being more public about it and kind of commentating on yourself, which is whack.
Yeah, definitely the second one, mate. It's it was something that I've had for so long, and I'd over the past few years, I'd started digitizing the old VHSs and and it's so interesting seeing it. Like those are the legs there that I was just talking about, where the lower part was sticking out the back of the prosthetics there. And you can see that's my mum on the left there, who's sort of moving my legs and helping me there. And I mean, look, a big thing about prosthetics as well is you need a lot of core strength as well, which is a massive thing. Which is when my swimming came in later in life, that really helped, and gymnastics now and everything. So yeah, it's a really important thing to keep that core strength up. Absolutely.
We've had a few guests over the last 2 weeks, and while we are kind of talking about the word Paralympics, it's certainly not just about Paralympians. It's just about people that have found power in sport. You just talked lightly about swimming. When did you first think, I'm going to have a crack at things that people have suggested that aren't really in my field? When did you just get your first taste and jump into water?
Well, when I was very young, I think there's a video on YouTube as well, when my parents state that I was scared of water when I was a child. It freaked me out. I remember when I was very young, I was out throwing sticks into the river with my pop, and we were trying to see how far we could get them, and I accidentally fell into the river and my prosthetics dragged me down, and I think that was part of being afraid of the water. And but I grew up in a very small country town up in the far north coast of New South Wales, and my coach, who was my coach for years, got me into the water and sort of eased me into the pool, and did like monkey bar climbing along the side of the pool, and really and started getting me into swimming. And I think a lot of it was also just my mates from school absolutely love swimming as well, and I love swimming with them, and just getting in there and going for it. It was it was something that I really loved, and really just felt really, really free, and I guess, and
it's really hard to know anything other than your own life. It's just the way it is. You kind of just go, well, this is what I'm used to.
Yeah.
Do you think that there's earlier moments for people with very visible challenges, like no legs is pretty obvious. No legs is pretty obvious when you as a young kid. When did you start feeling like things were different for you? And do you think it just applies for just the kids in general, or do you think that things like that, have you had a few extra years added earlier on where things were going to be different for you?
I think, I mean, that's always been a massive thing, that there were certainly things that I had to learn differently, but were very, I mean, people ask, how do you, isn't it difficult driving with a lever and a turning knob on the wheel and everything isn't that hard? And I said, well, that's the only way I've learned how to drive,
Right.
And I mean, there are certainly things like, having extra accessibility requirements that I've needed, and I certainly over the years and growing up, I've gotten better used to communicating those needs, which is a really important thing. I think early on, you can feel uncomfortable to express those needs, no matter what your disability is, because I think there's a fear of being judged or not being taken seriously or things like that. Look, communicating is such an important thing when it comes to disability and accessibility needs. I've just moved into a new apartment. We're just in the middle of unpacking at the moment. There are some things that I've had to say to the real estate that, that I do need to help me, live as easily as possible, particularly when I'm here all the time during lockdown.
Do you mean things like that probably wouldn't float with normal rental agreements? Are you saying, like, I want to drill in the walls and start making are you saying stuff that you're like, sorry, but I actually do need some things that I know you're not used to being asked, but come on.
There are certainly some things like that can come into account. At the moment, it's our toilet is not currently cemented properly into the ground.
That's just standard. Should be.
Yeah. So there are some things that are pretty standard, but also some things that are not. So we're communicating with the real estate at the moment and everything, and getting that sorted, because if I've got my prosthetic legs off, then I need that to be pretty stable. There's things like that where you just have to have an open dialogue and be really honest about.
NDIS is, I feel my mother is someone that's familiar with NDIS. She's had to use it, but I think just publicly people are a bit more aware of the NDIS. I think people are also abusing it from a business point of view, but that's another topic that's probably not related to what we're talking about. Have you relied from day one on government support, and how accessible has it been from such an early age?
I think I'd honestly have to ask my parents that in regards to government support, because it was so early on. I know that there wasn't as much support as there is now, although we still have a long way to go in terms of support, especially with NDIS. I mean, look, that video that you played was 3 years ago, I think.
Right.
And there's things that have certainly improved, but things that are still needing improvement.
Dig around for us. You just put a little arrow into the target board. Explain to us. We don't know. A lot of us don't know what we may be very rude in thinking, come on, you get enough.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was the thing. Like, certainly when that video first came out, there was a lot of comments and from people expressing their own frustration with the NDIS, which was really great. It was great to have that open dialogue. There were certainly a couple of comments that I tried not to, look at the comments too much, but there was a comment that I saw that was like, oh, why does he need it? He looks fine. And it's just like, well, you've seen a 2-minute video. That doesn't mean you know everything about the challenges I faced and overcome. But yeah, I mean, certainly with NDIS, I think it was certainly the legs thing. I had to. I've recently gotten a new pair of legs, which I had to have letters from my jobs, my doctors, my prosthetists, all sorts of people to sort of prove in a way why I needed the legs, I guess. And
what's wrong with the photo? What's wrong with
I know.
What's wrong with the photo? And show them the metadata in the photo that there's been no editing.
I would love for that to be a thing. Like it's like when you have to go to Centrelink or go get a disability sticker. Like you need all these forms, which part of me gets, but at the same time, it can be very frustrating to do it over and over and over again.
Is the person on the other side of the counter, if you've ever gone in there physically, and like, do you both just look at each other going, "I'm so sorry, I have to ask this"?
Definitely some people that I will I can get through to Centrelink or NDIS or at that counter at Service Australia, and there can be a person on the other side of the counter who is just like that and just says, "I'm so sorry that I have to ask this." Some people just seem to be a bit more clueless about the situation. I mean, as I mentioned in the video, there are people who are like, has your disability improved or gotten better? And I say, no, they have not. They have not gone back. It can be very bizarre. Sometimes all you can do is laugh at these things. Like with the NDIS, when they said we don't have enough evidence, I was just like, what do you mean? I'd sent through the forms and everything, and they were just like, no, just need more evidence. And I was just like, what more do you need? Sometimes it's just it's
a lot of work to leave up to the people that need it. You need more allyship. True. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep. How's that going? And where's some key areas that you think would create allyship, a healthy, respectful, effective allyship?
There are so many incredible disability activists that look into things like this. I certainly try to get the word out as much as I can. I certainly wouldn't consider myself an activist because there are a lot of people who do so much work for things like this. But for me, I think with NDIS recently they've brought in independent assessors, I believe, who haven't necessarily worked with people with disabilities or worked in any capacity of that kind. So it sort of seems like it's a tick in the box, basically, of, okay, you're an amputee, so you'll need this or you won't need this. Whereas it's a lot more complicated than that. Everyone, no matter who you are, has their own different needs. And I think, even with amputees, like there are single leg or single arm amputees, there are double, there are single, and I'm an above knee amputee, there are below knee amputees. So we all have different needs and things like that. I mean, in my most recent NDIS plan, I had a couple of things taken away because they just didn't think I needed them, basically. And I tried to dispute that, and they just said no, basically. So
is that a choice? Is that a choice from the person? Is it an individual choice or a government kind of level choice? Like you just don't fit into the. Yeah,
I think it's a bit of both. It's which is frustrating.
It's scary. A parallel world is my wife works in providing crisis relief for musicians, in particular First Nations musicians, and she's a First Nations person herself. The reason her role has been created is because people are calling up. First Nations people are getting called up and explaining some of the reasons why they are in crisis, and we're being met by an ignorant, uneducated person. Is that that's a quick fix? Is employ people that are in the field of the service that you're trying to provide?
100%.
Yep.
That's so important, and needs to happen more. You know, and it's a shame that it hasn't happened more, and you know, there's certainly. You know, I think social media can be a blessing and a curse at times. But I mean, there is certainly it's certainly helped to give a voice and to a lot more people, you know, with disabilities and you know, all sorts of differences and you know, which is great. But yeah, I think it's very important for that to come from a higher level as well. And yeah.
Talking of good allies, our great friend Ryan Chamley created an incredible series. I'm going to show the trailer in the background. What initially attracted you to the role of Kyle, and in particular Ryan's work?
Look, I remember it was a little casting platform online that was looking for people with disabilities, and I applied, and Ryan gave me a call and said, "G'day, Adam, it's Ryan from Robot Army Productions." And I was like, oh, God, that sounds familiar. I recognize that name and the name of the company. And I realized that he had created this incredible online series that I had fallen in love with called Rostered On.
Oh, get out. You were already onto it.
Oh, mate, when it was initially on YouTube before Netflix, before
yes,
Channel 7, you know, I absolutely loved that show. Because I've worked and I still work in you know, customer service and I used to work at Dick Smith before it closed down, and it was just bang on, and I was like, I've dealt with so many of those people and I've had so many of those same experiences, and I absolutely loved that show. And I basically rang him back and I just said, yes, I would love to be involved. I love your work. and you know, Ryan's such a lovely guy, and he sent me many, you know, different variations of Jeremy the Dud, which you know, it's just such a fantastic short, and I absolutely still love it. I think it's fantastic.
It's absolutely incredible. Give us a little description of what's beautiful about. What's the power behind? It's not just another doco. It's you can get it wrong. Ryan does it quite well, and it's really encouraging to hear that. You know, you could have easily stepped into a situation where you're just another dude that thinks he knows what we are like.
Yeah.
Did he give you creative direction as well? And go, is this okay if we do this? Or
if there was anything that Ryan was unsure of, or if there was anything I was unsure of in the script, we still do have a very open communication about those sorts of things. I remember when he called me and I was at uni and I went into a little room and he talked me over that first scene in the trailer of me sneaking out of the one night stand basically, and my prosthetics are on the opposite side of the room and I have to sneak over and get them. And I just could not stop laughing. I thought not that I've ever done anything like that in my personal life, but I just thought that was hilarious. It was funny. And just the concept of living in a world where, you know, disability is the norm and you know, and able-bodied people are considered outsiders, you know, was just brilliant. And it's still something that's talked about, which is amazing. You know, I've got friends who are at uni and you know, they've sent me screenshots saying we're studying your short film that you were in.
Wow.
Which is just amazing. And it's incredible. And so many people are, you know, studying and everything, and for different kinds of classes, and you know, and which is amazing, and it's fantastic, and a lot of people are still coming across it, which is wonderful. Give us an explanation, just a quick
synopsis, I guess, of what Jeremy the Dud's about.
So, Jeremy the Dud is essentially a world where everyone has a disability, and those that don't are called duds, and
I love
normal
it.
Essentially. And Jeremy is played by the incredible Nick Bosch, and you know, who's just brilliant from, you know, One Night Hipsters, and you know, he's just so funny, and it was really incredible working with Nick as well. You know, it was incredible watching him work and his process in comedy, and that certainly really helped me. And you know, it was over a week that we filmed that, and it was just incredible. There were such wonderful people, But yeah, and I think it sort of looks into very much the psyche and of that people with disabilities do experience, and the prejudices that they can experience, even if it is unintentional or you know, people try to be nice about it or kind-hearted about it. And you know, as Jeremy says in the trailer, you know, because you know, people are like, what do you want to be called? Do you want to be called a dud, or you know, without specialty or whatever? And he's like, I just want to be called Jeremy. You know, which is so powerful, and you know, something that I've, you know, certainly built into my you know,
yeah, there's a part in that episode where it got me thinking about, and it certainly challenged me. You know, you'd be good at is the question, you know. But it's first they assess and go, oh, you'd be good at, based on what they've seen being different. That's the issue, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
To not go, oh, cool, well, then you must fit into these limited roles. Yeah. You get the limited roles.
Yeah.
Is the golden picture a world that doesn't speak or think like that?
Oh, 100%.
That's what the benchmark is.
Yeah. Absolutely.
They don't go, Adam. So do you are you still facing those thoughts now? Is it, how heavy is it in your daily life? How present?
I think it's something you know, a lot of the disability community are still working towards in a lot of different facets. I mean, you know, with acting, for me, you know, I certainly don't just want to, you know, play, you know, legless zombies or
exactly.
Which I've done, and it's fun. And you know, I had my legs blown off in Hacksaw Ridge, which was, you know, that was my first feature film that I had a little role in, and you know, got to meet Mel Gibson and Andrew Garfield. Like that was an incredible experience. But you know, I don't want to just do that. Obviously, you know, I want to do roles that, you know, I'm happy to do roles that have disability in the forefront and you know, and go about it respectfully, but also not focusing on it, and not that being why I'm there or the main plot point. I did I co-directed and co-wrote a short film last year that's on iView at the moment called Diving In. And the big thing, and I co-wrote and directed that with Nina Oyama, who's an incredible comedian. And you know, we wrote that together, and a big thing was the disability aspect of it not being the sole focus. It was about you know, this young guy who has a mad crush on this girl, and you know, it's set in the early 2000s, so you know, mobile phones aren't as big, but you know, and you're not always on them, so you know, that was a big part of, you know, he's trying to delete this text that his friends have sent, a raunchy text, so he's, you know, racing trying to delete it. You know, which was a lot of fun, and it didn't, you know, I was able to you know, use you know, some of my gymnastic stuff to do a sort of like action adventure sort of, you know, stunts and everything, and a bit of my swimming as well, and which was really fun, but it didn't focus on my disability. It was, and there were other characters in the short as well that also had disabilities, and they, you know, a lot of the time there has to be, it seems that there has to be a reason why the characters have a disability, you know, and which there doesn't need to be. You know, there was a friend of the girl that I had a crush on who was a single arm amputee named Maddie, and you know, she's incredible. I've worked with her before, and you know, there didn't need to be this girl is a single arm amputee. Here's why. Here's her tragic backstory and things like that. It was just a fun thing. She was a character, you know. It's which is so important, and you know, something that I'm certainly trying to get out there.
Yeah, I love your YouTube channel. I did dig around, you know, at 9:30 last night, everyone went to bed, and I sat on the Adam Bowes YouTube channel. I loved it. And for the listeners and viewers, check out the link that I just put in the chat. We've got some great conversation going on here. Just people are really encouraged. They usually are when they get to meet people in a really personal space. But check out your YouTube channel. It's really cool. It's just personal stuff, some you know, well edited stuff, some not. It's beautiful. I love the For My Beautiful Bride. Was that your proposal video?
No,
because it almost could be, but just quite didn't ask the question. I thought, wonder what this is
No,
about.
yeah. That was shot a couple of days before my wedding, actually, and I showed it to. Oh, well, I sent it to Sarah, my wife's bridesmaids, that morning. So I put it up, and I put it up the morning of our wedding. And yeah, it was just sort of a thing where a lot of the time I'm a bit of a romantic, and especially when we started dating nearly 12 years ago in high school. I did little videos like that. There's a couple of videos on there early on where, Sarah, features, on the phone ringing in the middle of a song, or there's a song for her and things like that. Oh, there it is.
I've got to play some audio off this. Just have a look at this lip sync. Mate, you had me from the lip sync is so on point.
In my mind, I'm running around a cold and empty space.
My best man actually helped me.
Just put your arms around me, tell me everything's okay. Break my bones, but you won't see me fall. Oh, the rising tide will
Epic song choice.
Thank you.
Epic. Like the words.
Darling, hold my hand. Oh, won't you hold my hand?
Remember planes?
Oh.
Remember flying? Oh,
It's
God,
emotional. This is emotional. Adam, we're not short of tears. And this is, when I watched it yesterday, I went, this guy is an absolute beauty. Like, listen, I love it. I absolutely love it. Like, talking about your bones being broken, hold my hand. There was a comment in it. I wrote it down. I don't want to walk alone. Whew, that hit me when I heard it. I don't want to walk alone. Has it felt like that in your life, or is it more so were you pointing that you want to do this with a soulmate, a partner?
It was more that I want to do this with the girl that I've fallen in love with over 12 years. I've had a wonderful support connection since I was a kid. With my family and my friends. We Sarah and I both grew up in a very small country town, and we had I had an incredible support network. With my disability and everything. But Sarah is just such an incredible woman. I mean, when you were playing Unforgettable earlier, that's one of the songs we danced to, and she glided and waltzed out of the apartment, which was hilarious.
It's so good.
It's been an incredible 12 years, and that was that video and the wedding was the week of the really bad bushfires at the end of 2019. We were struggling to get everyone up there and everything, but we did it, and you look back in hindsight and just like, well, thank goodness we had the wedding.
We've got maybe one thing definitely in common. We just recently got married as well. I'm a recent a husband, but right in the middle of the last lockdown, like there was basically a month where it all just came together, and it's a pretty amazing experience knowing that it fitted somewhere amongst the chaos. Someone's asked a question. It's a pretty long one. Madison de Rosario. Have you been following the Paralympics?
A little bit. Yeah, we've been moving over the past week and a half.
You have?
So, yeah.
She spoke so well last night after a 1,500 metre heat about people with disabilities not needing to be Paralympians to be acknowledged and accepted as a person within society with strengths and weaknesses. How important for you is it that people see just Adam with a super sense of humour and skills within acting rather than Adam with two prosthetic legs?
100,000%. I think that's a big thing, and that's a dialogue that has been, online and in person, especially, is just the fact that our Paralympians are absolutely incredible. They're just powerhouses. They're absolutely brilliant. I absolutely admire them. But I think the other side of the coin is not holding every single person with a disability up to that bar. As I said before, we all have our own strengths, and we all have our own needs. And just because you, I don't have running blade legs, or blade running legs, if you will. So I'm not going to go, sprint down the street, but that doesn't mean, I'm any less of a person or, anything like that. But yeah, I think that's incredibly important to see the person and not just the disability. Like it's certainly a part of me, and I certainly don't, pretend that it's not. But yeah, it is incredibly important to see the person within as well, because there can be so much, outside of the disability that makes the person better.
It's spot on about that Jeremy the Dud thing, and it's just about it's unusual, but that's not a bad thing. Like it's just you're just in the minority. There's just less of it, and that's all there is to it. It's just there's less.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that's different. Is it's just less. Like it's a smaller group. It should just really stop there. Adam, what are you working on, man? Did you mention something before that you're working on, and how's your creative juices flowing while you're? I mean, moving house is not the easiest thing to have to do and be creative at the same time, but.
It's really not. It's
once you get set up, you're cracking into something new, or picking up the
pieces.
Yeah, look,
I'm working on writing a couple of short films here and there, and hopefully when I'm able to come down to Melbourne, there's a couple of things in the pipeline that hopefully we can get up and running pretty soon. It's obviously it's a hard time for everyone at the moment. I'm doing a few of the master classes and things online, just doing a bit of music and recording and everything. So yeah, just trying to keep myself as busy as possible at home at the moment.
You're a singer too, aren't you?
I am.
You do it all. You do it all. It's so good. Adam, I really appreciate you. I'm gonna wind up and start playing some more duets, because I've got a long list of duet songs. But I'm gonna play your one. What's behind this cheeseball one?
This song was my nan was a big fan of this song, and she was always an incredible support. That was the first song that came to my head. Been loving the song so far this morning.
Adam, you're a legend. I'm so honoured to be able to meet you. Just very, very not very long ago, only a few days ago. But thanks to Ryan, and but thanks for coming on, man, and just giving us an open chat, nice and early in the morning.
Cool, mate. Thanks so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries. We'll catch up soon.
Absolutely, mate. Take care.
See ya.